What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So, it is Monday, and load the dip, right? So, let's have a look at what's going on in the markets, guys. But before we do, I just wanted to let everybody know that Consensus is coming up next week. However, I do realize that it's a pretty high price point for these tickets at $2,000 a ticket. A lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to go, whatever. So for anybody that is kind of going to be in the area, I just wanted to let you know that 2 days before Consensus, I'm actually going to be at the Colombian Blockchain Alliance Crypto Asia Summit. And I also have a code so that you guys can get like totally free tickets if you want to go. So I'll be there the 12th. I'll leave that at the end of the video though. I don't want to ruin the main topic of today's discussion, which is what's going on with the markets, what's happening with Ethereum specifically. Now, when I woke up this morning, we were sitting at around $427 billion. And in the time it took me to research my video of the day, we've actually gone back up to 432 billion. So the markets actually are recovering since the initial FUD of the SEC, CFTC meeting up and talking about what's going on with Ethereum. So we did see Ethereum reach about, it was like $820, and then it fell down. It was sitting at about half the market cap of Bitcoin. Now, if we switch it to the Bitcoin comparative, what we've really been trying to get back to is that 0.1 BTC level for Ethereum. That's kind of like the optimal point that we're really trying to get back to. But with what's been happening currently, there has been, there's been some FUD in the markets. So the one thing I wanted to talk about real quick before we move on was, I don't know if you guys saw this, but did you notice that Bitcoin on CoinMarketCap, they removed Bitcoin.com? So now it actually goes to bitcoin.org. So I don't know if that whole lawsuit with Bitcoin Cash and bitcoin.com actually worked, but they totally took it off. So that I just wanted to just note real quick. But I think what we're really here for today, essentially, is to talk about Ethereum. So let's dive in, guys. So last night I was watching Peter Saddington's live stream. I've been watching him for a long time. I respect a lot of the things that he talks about. And we were just talking basically about Ethereum and what's happening and what's going on and what the overall general sentiment towards what's going on with the SEC really is. So why don't we dive in? And I wanted to bring up some key topics that were discussed last night, but I wanted to kind of consolidate it for the point of this video today. So Ethereum came out in 2014, okay? The question is it an unregulated security, right? So the big thing about what is a security? Well, essentially a security is when you purchase something hoping that it increases in value, which I don't really understand that whole concept personally, because if that's the case, then shouldn't every cryptocurrency in theory be a security technically, or really any stock, right? In general, I mean, don't you buy stocks? Don't you buy cryptos in hopes of the price going up? I mean, you know, I don't know. That's just me, but maybe I'm missing out on something. I mean, yes, there's commodities. I understand that, okay? Because you talk about the Howey test, right? We'll get into that a little later. So one of the main things that was kind of brought up is that Ethereum currently is a proof of work consensus mechanism, correct? So right now, Ethereum is being mined via proof of work. Now, yes, they're looking to move to proof of stake, obviously, but they're not right now, okay? So that means that miners are actually out there physically actually, with, mining units, solving these math equations, right, and creating Ethereum, right? So because they're working, literally they're working, it's proof of work in order to create Ether, right? Then technically, how could that be a security when somebody is actually working to create it? It's like I'm a farmer and I go out every day and I farm, right? And I have vegetables now that are in my garden and I've grown them, I mean, how is that? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm working for it. So that might be strike number one potentially against it. The other thing that we wanted to talk about is that Ethereum themselves doesn't actually control the circulation of the currency, right? However, there is that slight concern that maybe they do have too much power over it. For example, you had Ethereum back with the DAO hack, splitting off into Ethereum Classic, right? You see all these implementations. How many, EIP, Ethereum, improvement proposals are we seeing, right? So it's still not perfectly decentralized just yet. But at the same time, as far as being able to pragmatically, I suppose, affect the circulating supply, the coins, and all that stuff, it's not 100% centralized. So you have that, again, kind of working on Ethereum's side, but I can also see why the SEC has an issue with that, considering that, yes, we kind of can still mess around with it and change it and come up with proposals. They can do all these different things. So maybe there is a sense of control over it. Now, let's discuss Ethereum itself. What is Ethereum good for right now, currently, as we speak? Well, it's a pretty good means of currency, I think, personally. Getting paid in Ethereum is faster than Bitcoin, cheaper, generally, right? But ultimately, what is Ethereum's best use case? Well, smart contracts, correct? But what have we really evolved these smart contracts into? Well, it seems like recently these smart contracts have really just evolved Ethereum into an ICO platform. That's basically what it does, right? So it launches ICOs. So here's the thing. The discussion that was brought up last night essentially was, how can you sue, or in the real world, a company, for example, or a project like Ethereum because of the scam ICOs that are coming out of it? Sure, Ethereum has a lot of scams coming out of it, but you know what I'm saying? Like the example that was basically used last night was, you can't sue an internet service provider, right? Like I can't sue Comcast, or I can't, sue Verizon or something like that because somebody decides to do some nefarious things utilizing that internet service provider, right? If John decides to go on the dark web using Verizon or using Comcast ISP, and he decides that he wants to do some illegal activities on the dark web, right? Does that constitute, is that associated with the providers? Is that does Verizon get in trouble because this individual decided to use their services, in a nefarious or illegal manner? No. Okay? So basically they're saying that you can't really correlate that with these scams. Yes, it's a platform for tokens, all right? But these tokens are more of commodities. For example, if you buy any ERC20 token, just come up with anyone off the top of your head right now. Golem or currently Omisego, it hasn't really been on the mainnet yet, right? So say I have Golem, right? I buy Golem. That doesn't affect anything as far as Ethereum. Participating in these ICOs doesn't affect, and I mean, people might argue, okay, I needed to buy Ether in order to crowdfund. Okay, but realistically, owning that token doesn't give you a stake, correct? Or anything of that nature. So then, the fourth point that basically came out with Ethereum is that they really haven't been bad actors in the space whatsoever, okay? So they've been a good example of leadership. They've been a good example of marketing, getting people interested in cryptos, helping the community grow. And, you have the figurehead of, Vitalik Buterin, and the same thing with Litecoin and Charlie Lee and all these other things. They've essentially just been a good example of what cryptocurrency and blockchain can do. Now, yes, like I said, you've had those ICOs that have been the scams. You've had the BitConnects and all these things. But at the same time, Ethereum itself has actually been a shining example of positivity and community within the crypto space, okay? So that's something that I just wanted to say as well. And the other thing that I wanted to get a little bit back onto when I was talking about the commodities concept is, think about a commodity. Think about things in the real world that would be commodities. Well, those would be anything like farming, minerals, things like that, okay? So, for example, this was the example used last night, okay? If you go out and you buy an iPhone, right? Does that suddenly give you participation in Apple stock? No. You bought an iPhone. That's it. You don't own stock in Apple. You don't get anything special. You don't have any special benefits. You just have an iPhone. That's it, okay? So that was kind of the things that I wanted to basically touch on, that I was inspired by the conversation last night. Now, let's say something bad does come out of this. Let's say that this turns out to be a really horrible event, and the SEC decides that, yeah, we're gonna just slam the hammer down on Ethereum. Well, what could this mean? Well, it could possibly mean that essentially it's going to stifle innovation, okay? It's probably going to be a very long, very drawn out process, okay? And one of the things that most people don't really truly understand is the SEC, although it does have a huge influence to us if you're in the US, it really doesn't matter anywhere else, okay? They don't care in Australia really what the SEC says. I mean, they might consider what they're talking about, but it's not going to affect it. And then it's kind of hard because under what jurisdiction does Ethereum operate, right? You can go after Vitalik, you can go after the Ethereum, the Alliance, but you can't really go after Ethereum, right? You can't turn off Ether. It's out there. It's already out there, And I think that's one of the biggest things that they're going to have difficulty if they do try to do this. I see this being a very long, drawn out process. The other thing that could happen is then you start to look to other projects. You look to EOS or Neo or even Icon, Lisk, any of these other platforms to possibly build on in the future. Even Stellar, they're doing their thing. And then, on the other hand, people question, well, what's going to happen to all these ICOs that have been collecting the Ether during all these crowd sales, hoping that it will increase in value, correct? But then the question is, what if they all dump? Okay, maybe they want to, liquidate everything. Now, this is totally worst case scenario, but they're all things that I wanted to just bring up and talk about. So there is that potential that the ICOs could dump the Ether on the market because they don't want to be involved in it. But then that whole thing opens up another can of bags. And yeah, we could just go on forever talking about that. So basically, those were some of the few things that I wanted to talk about, especially related to Ethereum. I don't know what your opinion is on it personally. I wouldn't be too worried about it. I know maybe I'm just too optimistic about these kinds of things. If you're holding Ethereum right now, not financial advice, do what you want. I wouldn't sell your Ethereum right now because, we've lived through a lot of these FUDs before. I've seen what happened with Korea FUD, China FUD. Okay, if we come over to 99 Bitcoins, Bitcoin has officially died 288 times. Look how many times Bitcoin has just been slammed, outlawed, banned, murdered, every other thing you could think of. And Bitcoin is still here. Bitcoin is the honey badger. Bitcoin doesn't care. So I wouldn't freak out about Ethereum. If you're new to the market, this might seem like a really big, scary event for you. For me and others that have been involved in it much longer, it's just another day in crypto, guys. It's just another day in crypto. You come over here, and I had this look at Vlad Morer from on Medium, and he was basically saying Ethereum might be a security. So what? Really? A lot of people feel this way. He kind of points out some keys that no one can stop, fine, punish the regulator Joe from acquiring ETH risk for free. He can mine it. He could buy it from one address. He can go on exchanges. It doesn't matter. Covered this earlier. SEC is relevant only for the US, and the value of ETH will actually go up in the US anyway because people use their ETH to invest in projects on the Ethereum blockchain and get more ETH. The harder it is to get the ETH, the more valuable it will become in that specific region. Guys, we've seen this. It tends that when these things get outlawed or when there's an issue, that's when the price spike goes up. That's when it becomes more valuable. That's when you'll pay more, right? If something's more difficult to obtain, you'll pay more for that item. You'll pay more for that thing, right? So outlawing or banning Ethereum or doing whatever you're doing is probably only going to have a reverse effect and increase value, right? Think about every time we have a war on drugs, right? What happens? Tends to just bring in more drugs, right? When we have a war on terror, it tends to just create more terror because war, right? So, somebody had a joke. They were like, maybe if we had a war on farmers markets, we'd be able to get more, healthy organic food. Just a joke. But seriously, when you think about it, when you outlaw things, they tend to, look at prohibition. Back when alcohol was, back in, the early 20s, 30s, whatever. People were paying insane prices to get their hands on a bottle of liquor, right? So I just wanted to point that out. And the other thing that we have to talk about too is that the SEC's chairman, Jay Clayton, he basically already has said on multiple occasions that Ethereum is not a security. So you guys, if you want, I'll drop a link to this article. It's kind of long. It basically just goes in to talk about Ethereum, talk about how generally speaking, there's no, you got to go into this and read on. But basically, he says that Ethereum is not a security, okay? So that's kind of the big spiel on it. That's what I mostly wanted to bring up today. Now, just going to rapid fire a little bit of news. Basically, long story short, I wouldn't freak out. I wouldn't worry about it. We might see a dip if some news comes out, but there's only one of two things that are going to happen. Bad news is going to come out. There's going to be a dip. Then there's going to be a price increase, or good news is going to come out and there's going to be a price increase. If you notice, both of these are going to end with a price increase. Do what you will with that info. Not financial advice. Anyway, speaking of Ethereum, I also wanted to let you guys know that there was the EdCon Toronto. It has been uploaded live by the Asia Pacific Ethereum community. If you guys want, I started it right here. I had it paused at around 3:51. That's when Vitalik comes out. He talks about Casper. He talks about some of the implementations looking for Ethereum moving forward. So if you guys want, I'll drop a link in the description. Very, very, very long conference, but like I told you, right around the 3 hour 51 minute mark is when they start talking about this. So if you guys want, I'll drop a link to that. Also, there was this really awesome article that I read by Daniel Lee, and he wrote 5 takeaways from EdCon 2018. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I was interested in this myself because it's nice to see. It's nice to see viewpoints that aren't just you sitting in front of your, app, just refreshing your portfolio. I like to hear what these VCs, what these developers, what the overall sentiment of it is from other people's perspectives. So a few things to consider is that community is one of Ethereum's most important assets. Scaling is front and center for researchers and developers. Devs need to spend more time thinking about customers. We need to spend more time analyzing blockchain data, and growth generates lots of excitement and many new questions. So there's way more about that. I thought it was a really great article, very informative. So when we talk about these other projects and other things that you have opportunities to get invested in outside of Ethereum, then you look at EOS. So currently EOS does not offer its token sale in the US, obviously dealing with issues of not wanting to run into the issues that Ethereum's running into right now with the SEC. However, we are looking at a year-long ICO from EOS, and the EOS tokens are currently tradable right now, which means that I can hold them as a US citizen but I didn't participate in the token sale. Now, they are announcing the update of Dawn 4.0, and the big main release is very, very soon, guys. It's coming out next month. A lot of excitement. I actually can't believe it's already been almost a year. It feels like a lifetime. It really does in crypto. But then you start to question these other things, like what are their stances going to be on EOS? How are they going to feel about that? But technically, they kind of got around that because they didn't have the token sale in the US. So I guess that's kind of the thing that they're doing right now. But then when you take a look over here, so you have the delegated proof of stake right here, which is on EOS. Now, this is claimed to be fair because you have equal distribution over the course of 21 block producers at 4.8%, right? Whereas you have Ethereum and Bitcoin, now they're fighting. Now you have BTC.com, you have Antpool, and via BTC. Now, we know that Bitmain has ties to all of these. So that means that they own more than 50%. So essentially, they could have a 51% attack on Bitcoin. Now, the question is that more fair? It's, just because this particular person bought up all the miners or created them essentially, and they have more power and they, became the biggest miners. Does that make it less decentralized? Or is this more decentralized? But then again, there's only 21. You see what I'm saying? So that's something too that we have to look forward in the future. Those are all questions that we have. And then you do look at potentially moving to other platforms, like I said, like Neo or Icon. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit off topic, but I thought this was really interesting from Icon. So Min Kim kind of reached out to the community and he said, basically in a nutshell, crypto is a very, very fast-paced space and everybody wants things tomorrow. We want all the technology tomorrow. We want everything, right? We don't want to wait. But in the real world, technology takes a very, very long time. Look at the roadmap of Google when it first came out to what we have now. Google, you have Google Classrooms, right? Kids are literally in school using Google Classroom. Google started out as just a really kind of crappy search engine back in the day, right? Wasn't really even able to pull in a lot of results. So you have to be patient with these things. And one of the things that they talked about was, especially with Icon, because I get so many people asking me, when this, when that, when that. So I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but essentially he says, I don't think anyone can question our technical capabilities as we have a commercial version of Loopchain already running with 11 security firms today. Not a proof of concept, but a live product and service. In addition, when it comes to technical due diligence, financial institutions have the most rigorous process, right? And then he goes into talking about regarding communication, it's not child's play anymore. Icon is trading already. So you know what I'm saying? Now that Icon is physically trading on exchanges, giving insider information out is totally not cool. So basically he says, I'm not going to jump on and I'm not trying to leave any individuals out. But as of right now, either the information goes full public or it doesn't. It's not like I'm not going to hop on Telegram and give these people a little bit of information, but then I'm not going to tell these guys about it, right? So he just basically says that, launching products is no joke. Keeping dev schedules is no joke. for keeping dev schedules for blockchain is even tougher than ordinary software. And jokingly, he says, I don't sit next to the team and, poke them on the shoulder and go, hey, when mainnet, when mainnet, when mainnet, when mainnet, So then there's the other thing, too, where Icon is currently an ERC20 token waiting to be swapped out for the mainnet. Now, you can put it in your, you can put it in the wallet, but, somebody's like, oh, well, maybe they know something that we don't, going on with this whole securities thing. So I just thought that was really interesting, guys. On some lighter news, we have 0x coming out from ZebPay. So that's another spot that you can get it. Also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I had to put it into this. So did you see that we had 2 cryptocurrency cameos coming out in the media? Well, actually in TV shows. So we have Ledger Nano S being featured on the show Billions. And there was $1 million straight in crypto in cold storage. So that's right here. That was a picture of that. And then the other one was from Silicon Valley. So you have Guilfoyle basically saying that he only believes in a few handful of things and that he'll defend, and one of them is cryptocurrencies. Now, something else that I thought was really interesting was, so they have the Pied Piper coin on this show, but as a joke, they released the website. So it's piedpiper.com. Now, this is a joke, okay? But it's from the TV show. If you scroll down here, it actually has, this is piedpiper.com. It shows the team, and, here you are right here. And, obviously it's all the guys from the TV show. But what I find really interesting, and I don't know if this is correlated. By the way, they have like an actual white paper you can even open up and look at, which I thought was really clever. But what I thought was funny was, so this trading ticker is PPC. And we've recently seen a 15% increase in Peercoin, whose ticker is also PPC. So I don't know if there was just some amazing news that came out of the Peercoin camp or not, or if it's just a whirlwind of everything. So I just thought that was really funny. I don't know. Interesting coincidence, however. So also, guys, I wanted to just tell you guys about this Apex AMA with Jimmy Hugh. It was a Ask Me Anything. I know Apex is a very interesting project a lot of people have been looking forward to. So if you guys want, I'll drop a link in the description. Unfortunately, all the questions have been asked, but if you guys want to get a little insight into that AMA, I highly suggest you guys check it out. It's not too long. It's just under 40 minutes. You can look into that. Also, some big news coming out. We have 1 billion Huobi blockchain fund. So Huobi announced recently that the company's investment arm, Huobi Labs, has launched a US $1 billion blockchain fund to bolster the domestic economy. The enormous fund has been established in collaboration with Tenya Community Network Technology. Now, Huobi Labs will also be at the conference that I told you guys about in the beginning of the episode. So maybe I'll have a good opportunity to talk to them about that. And then also you have 10,000 Bitcoin purchased. So you have local angel investor Kai Wensheng. His personal goal was to acquire 10,000 Bitcoins. He says Bitcoin, it should be noted, hasn't been the only crypto asset purchased by Mr. Wensheng in recent times. Indeed, he claims to have positions in various altcoins as well, such as the Theta token, Ontology, Cortex, ArcBlock, Zippy, Yi, GX Chain, and Charter. Not 100% familiar with those last ones. So that was basically the news that was coming out of that. And this was really, I'm going to drop this link in the description because it's kind of funny. But so this guy got really angry on Reddit. And he basically had this rant where he was just like, everything is a shill. Who cares if this guy shills this? Your whole life is a shill. Everything that you've been told since you were a kid is a shill. Milk does a body good was a shill. Peanut butter is a shill. He says, swear to God, it never occurred to me as a kid that you can also have almond butter, pecan butter, pistachio butter, etc. Those nuts have more positive effects, so why not produce it? Because peanut butter was the cheapest to produce, and they knew that if people started demanding different nut butters, it would open the door for more competition. He talks the same thing about Christopher Columbus got shilled. He wasn't really the first person to discover America. So when Bitcoin Cash tries to shill it saying it's Bcash and this and that, I'm just sick and tired of everything being a freaking shill. Centralization sucks. Oh my goodness. All right, buddy. All right. So people down below, they're like, how much weed did you smoke before you posted this post? Somebody else goes, where was it down here? I don't remember where it was, but basically they were just like, I want to get what you're smoking, and it was pretty funny. So, I mean, if you think about it, everything is kind of a shill. I mean, when you have McDonald's sponsoring the Olympics, maybe everything is a shill. So maybe everything is a shill. I don't know, guys. But getting back to this, I will be at the Colombian Blockchain Alliance, the Crypto Asian Summit. As you can see right here, if you come to participants, Red Nova, they're really huge. They're doing a lot lately. So this is Huobi. Media, that's my logo. Obviously, Quantalysis. If you guys don't know Jeff, he will also be reporting, covering on it. He won't be at this specific event, but they'll be doing another one in California if you guys are interested. And basically, you could just go to early bird tickets. And if you guys want, that's my code. It's Zombie Blocks. It's not an affiliate. I don't get any money for it. It's just a way of saying thank you. You guys are awesome. If you want to go, Zombie Blocks, that's my code. So head on over to cryptoasiasummit.com. I'll drop a link in the description if you want. And before we go, I'd like to just end this on a lighter note. And we have Diplo recently recently on his Instagram saying that he is checking his Coinbase before the rave. And that got over 71,000 likes. Bringing it mainstream, guys. Bringing it mainstream. So, that being said, guys, let me know your feelings on Ethereum. What do you think? Do you think that it's going to be a onslaught, a bloodbath? Do you think that crypto's just going to tank hard? You think nobody really cares? Do you think Ether's a honey badger just like Bitcoin? Drop a link in the description or drop a comment in the description. Yeah, if you want to drop a link in the description, sure, you can do that too. But drop a comment. Let me know. Let's continue the discussion below. And yeah, guys, so it's Monday. Feels good to be back. Yeah, crypto's taking a dip, but crypto's crypto, guys. Let's be real. If we go back and we have a look, let's have a look, actually. Right before we go, let's do this right at the end so we can feel better. Let us go to the dominance. Okay. Now we do have Bitcoin dominance actually increasing a little bit, but let's go to 1 month. So this is the dip that we're worried about. This is a little dip right here. We were here, and now we're here. We're here, and now we're here. But we were here. But now we're here. But we were here. And now we're here. See what I'm saying, guys? So I wouldn't freak out. Dip's not too bad. So that being said, you guys are freaking awesome. Thanks for coming back to my channel. Everyone that's been liking, subscribing, and commenting. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto and don't FUD. And of course, peace out.